Did you know that millions of people around the world live with phobias? These intense, often irrational fears can significantly impact a person's life. While some phobias, like arachnophobia, the fear of spiders, are relatively common, others are far more unusual. For instance, have you ever heard of a phobia that makes people terrified of long words? It might sound unbelievable, but it's a real thing. Get ready to dive into the fascinating world of phobias as we uncover 7 of the rarest and most peculiar ones you probably didn't know existed. Buckle up, because some of these might just leave you speechless. You got it, hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia. The fear of long words. It's a mouthful, isn't it? But believe it or not, this is a real phobia that affects many people around the world. The irony of having such a long name for the fear of long words is not lost on anyone. It's almost as if the name itself is a test of endurance for those who suffer from it. The fear of long words is a real thing, and it's called hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia. Ironic, right? This phobia can be quite debilitating for those who experience it. Imagine coming across a word like anti-disestablishmentarianism or floccinaucinihilipilification and feeling a wave of anxiety wash over you. For most of us, these words are just fun tongue twisters, but for someone with this phobia, they can be a source of genuine distress. This phobia often stems from a fear of embarrassment or feeling overwhelmed when encountering complex words. It's not just about the length of the word, but also the fear of mispronouncing it or not understanding its meaning. This can lead to a sense of inadequacy or fear of being judged by others. The anxiety can be so intense that it affects a person's ability to read, write, or even speak in certain situations. Imagine struggling to even pronounce the name of your fear. The very word hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia is a challenge in itself. For those with this phobia, the act of trying to say such a long word can trigger a panic attack. It's a classic example of how phobias can manifest in unexpected ways. The fear isn't just about the word itself, but the potential for embarrassment and the overwhelming feeling of not being able to cope. It's a classic example of how phobias can manifest in unexpected ways. Phobias are often irrational, but that doesn't make them any less real for the person experiencing them. The fear of long words might seem amusing to some, but for those who live with it, it's a daily struggle. They might avoid reading certain books, participating in discussions, or even going to places where they might encounter long words. While it might seem amusing on the surface, for those who experience it, it's a genuine source of anxiety. The fear can be so intense that it affects their daily lives. They might avoid situations where they could encounter long words, such as reading certain books, attending lectures, or even having conversations with people who use complex vocabulary. This can lead to a sense of isolation and frustration. This brings us to a crucial point. Many phobias, especially the rarer ones, often go unnoticed or misunderstood. People might not take them seriously or might even make fun of them. This can make it even harder for those with the phobia to seek help or talk about their fears. They might feel ashamed or embarrassed, which only adds to their anxiety. It's important to remember that phobias are real and can have a significant impact on a person's life. People might hesitate to talk about their fears, fearing judgment or ridicule. This is especially true for phobias that seem unusual or irrational. But just because a fear seems strange to us doesn't mean it's not real for the person experiencing it. We should approach these topics with empathy and understanding, rather than judgment. By doing so, we can help create a more supportive environment for those with phobias. This is why it's so important to approach these topics with sensitivity and understanding. We never know what someone else is going through, and a little empathy can go a long way. If someone opens up about their phobia, listen to them without judgment, offer support and encouragement, and let them know that their feelings are valid. This can make a huge difference in their ability to cope with their fear. Just because a fear seems unusual doesn't make it any less real for the person experiencing it. Phobias can be incredibly isolating, and the fear of being judged or misunderstood can make it even harder to seek help. By being compassionate and understanding, we can help those with phobias feel less alone and more supported. Remember, everyone has their own struggles, and a little kindness can go a long way. So, the next time you come across a long, complicated word, spare a thought for those with hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia. It might just make you appreciate the power of language in a whole new light. Language is a beautiful and complex tool that we use to communicate, but it's also important to remember that it can be a source of anxiety for some. By being mindful of this, we can create a more inclusive and understanding world for everyone. Let's move on to another peculiar phobia, arachibutyrophobia. This term might sound like a mouthful, but it describes a very specific and somewhat quirky fear. This one's for all the peanut butter lovers out there who relish the creamy, nutty goodness spread on their toast or mixed into their favorite recipes, or perhaps former peanut butter lovers who have developed an aversion due to this unusual fear. Arachibutyrophobia is the intense fear of having peanut butter stuck to the roof of your mouth. This might seem trivial to some, but for those who suffer from it, the fear is very real and can be quite distressing. Imagine the feeling of that sticky paste clinging stubbornly, making it difficult to swallow. The sensation can be incredibly uncomfortable and even alarming. For some, this sensation is unbearable, triggering a full-blown panic attack. The fear of choking or being unable to clear the peanut butter from their mouth can lead to intense anxiety. While the exact causes of this phobia are unknown, it's likely linked to a combination of sensory sensitivities and potential choking anxieties. Some experts believe that past negative experiences with peanut butter could also play a role. So, the next time you enjoy a peanut butter sandwich, take a moment to acknowledge the existence of arachibutyrophobia. It just might make you appreciate the simple act of swallowing a little bit more. And remember, for those who suffer from this phobia, it's not just about the peanut butter, it's about the overwhelming fear and anxiety that comes with it. If you or someone you know struggles with arachibutyrophobia, seeking help from a mental health professional can be beneficial. Therapy and counseling can provide strategies to manage and overcome this fear, allowing individuals to enjoy their favorite foods without anxiety. Ultimately, understanding and empathy go a long way. By recognizing and respecting the fears of others, we can create a more supportive and compassionate world. So here's to enjoying peanut butter, with or without the fear. Now this is a phobia that might resonate with many of you in today's digital age. Nomophobia, the fear of being without your phone or being unable to use it. This term is derived from no mobile phone phobia, and it encapsulates a very modern anxiety. We've all been there, that moment of panic when you reach for your phone, and it's not there. Your heart races, your mind starts to worry, and you feel a sudden rush of anxiety. But for those with nomophobia, this fear is constant and debilitating. It's not just a fleeting moment of worry, it's a persistent dread that can affect daily life. They experience intense anxiety at the mere thought of being disconnected, of not having their phone within reach. This can lead to physical symptoms like sweating, trembling, and even shortness of breath. The fear of missing out on messages, calls, or social media updates can be overwhelming. It's not just about the device itself, but the connection to the world it represents. This phobia highlights our growing dependence on technology and the anxieties that come with it. In a world where we're constantly connected, the idea of being without our phones can feel like losing a lifeline. It's a reminder to find a healthy balance between our online and offline lives, to take moments to disconnect and engage with the world around us. To avoid letting our devices rule our emotions, we must cultivate habits that allow us to enjoy life without the constant need for digital validation. Whether it's spending time in nature, reading a book, or simply enjoying a hobby, these activities can help us reconnect with ourselves and reduce the grip of nomophobia. Chapter 4, Xanthophobia, the fear of the color yellow. Prepare to enter a world without sunshine, because next up is xanthophobia, the fear of the color yellow. Imagine being afraid of bananas, sunflowers, and even the cheerful yellow rubber ducky. For individuals with xanthophobia, the color yellow triggers feelings of intense anxiety, fear, or even disgust. This phobia can manifest in various ways, from avoiding yellow objects to experiencing panic attacks when exposed to the color. While the exact causes are unclear, like many phobias, it likely stems from a combination of genetic predispositions, early life experiences, and learned behaviors. Chapter 5. Calling all cheese lovers. Can you imagine a world without pizza, cheeseburgers, or even a simple grilled cheese sandwich? For those with turophobia, the fear of cheese, this is a harsh reality. This phobia often stems from a traumatic experience with cheese, such as choking on it, or having a negative reaction to it. The mere sight, smell, or even thought of cheese can trigger intense anxiety and discomfort. So the next time you indulge in a cheesy treat, spare a thought for those with turophobia. Their world is a little less cheesy, and that's no laughing matter. Chapter 6. Some people find the sound of rain soothing, but for those with ombrophobia, it's a source of dread. This phobia involves an intense fear of rain, often stemming from anxieties related to storms, thunder, lightning, or even getting wet. For individuals with ombrophobia, a simple rain shower can trigger feelings of panic, anxiety, and a desperate need to seek shelter. This phobia highlights how even the most natural phenomena can become sources of fear and anxiety for some. Chapter 7. And now for the most unusual phobia on our list. Anatidophobia, the fear of being watched by a duck. Yes, you heard that right. Imagine the feeling of constantly being observed by those beady little duck eyes following your every move. While this phobia might seem absurd, it's a real fear for some, often stemming from a traumatic experience involving ducks or a general fear of birds. It's a reminder that phobias can manifest in the most unexpected ways, and what might seem irrational to one person can be a very real and debilitating fear for another. From the fear of long words to the fear of being watched by a duck, we've explored some of the rarest and most peculiar phobias out there. These phobias highlight the diverse nature of human fears and how they can manifest in unexpected ways. What did you think of these unusual phobias? Have you ever heard of any of them before? Let us know in the comments below. And if you have any other strange phobias you'd like to share, we'd love to hear about them. If you found this video fascinating, be sure to check out our other videos on unusual medical conditions. You won't want to miss them.